Well, if we are counting down wins, then that's not a bad way to do it, right? A win at home against Everton, not really avenging the other result, but showing the level of dominance, showing a much more slot-like performance, and showing a level-headedness, which gets you one step closer to a title, is really important. A line in the sand, a marker, at least keeping pace with the opposition who are chasing us down, and knowing that there is an end goal that this team need to reach in order to do what most people thought was the unthinkable at the start of the season. This Liverpool side were actually excellent this evening. And I've got to say, as much as Everton created some good chances, and I obviously see some deficiencies that we can address, there are a lot of very good and very big positive aspects to this. First of all, let's laud Curtis Jones. Stepping in at right back. We said it a lot on this channel before. I think we can see a guy who's going to step in at right back and do something good, do something that shows level of control, shows a level of level-headedness, why Liverpool wanted him in the squad almost constantly, why he's been through an evolution that he is still going through at Anfield, and why this guy is someone that we can trust and rely on moving into the future at Liverpool. He is the scouser in the team now. He is the guy that Liverpool look to when we're looking for motivation, when we're looking for an idea of the long-term identity of this side. He's adaptable, he's smart, he wins possession back really, really well. He combines really well with other players. He has heart. He cares about the team. All of these different aspects is Curtis Jones. And I've got to admit, I don't think our two centre-backs had a great night tonight. I don't think it's because they lacked Alisson. I still think Alisson will come back. I think Kelleher actually made, as far as I can see, statistically no saves this evening. But still, pretty solid performance. I think Liverpool broadly kept Everton away from the goal, and the few times that Everton did get through, they were very significant chances which came from fairly obvious mistakes. So I'd actually feel much better about the obvious mistakes than I would about kind of systemic exploitation on Everton's side. I think it's a lot better to just say, well, Van Dijk miskicked there, or this guy fell over here. I think that's much, much better. But I've got to admit, if we're talking about centre-backs getting exposed, then Tarkowski is clearly one of those centre-backs that lost his head this evening. I don't particularly think he was exposed that much, though we can talk about the Jota goal. I don't particularly think he was exposed all that much this evening. But for a moment, the guy lost his head, followed through on Alexis McAllister, and I know that the referee's decision was upheld on the field, but even the Sky commentary themselves, multiple people online who do not support Liverpool, and even the Sky referee consultant, I can't remember what his name is now, agreed. That should have been a red, and it should have been reviewed, and it probably should have been overturned or upgraded or whatever you want to say, and it would have had a big bearing on the game. It would have changed the way that we felt about the overall match. Down to 10 men, huge figure missing in the side, a space to run at in that back line, them having to take a forward off, someone who, probably would have been fairly significant in the game. We're looking at a player who ultimately, got away with it, I think. And Liverpool knew that. And Liverpool, I think it would have been very simple at that point to have just let your head go down, think that the referee was against you, think the night wasn't going to go your way, and that, the referee was trying to counter the Anfield agenda or the Anfield atmosphere or whatever you want to call it. But they didn't. And Liverpool, for huge portions of this game, just controlled Everton. And the control is so key. People poo-poo it, they go, oh, you didn't really control the game. 3 times the amount of passes, double the amount of XG, big chances, they went to Everton, but ultimately Liverpool made more shots. They made their goalkeeper make any saves in this game, way more corner kicks, which obviously show how much pressure there was on the opposition. Tackles, they had to make just a couple more of those. Free kicks, they conceded some really important ones that really Liverpool should have capitalised on, frankly. And at the same time, yellow cards, the red cards would have meant something towards the yellows, but, ultimately it's a Merseyside derby. I'd imagine the referee was trying to let the game go just a little bit more, which again, excuse me, contributed to what it was that let Tarkowski off with that, right? But we plug on. There were also a couple of performances in the side that I thought were brilliant. I thought Luis Diaz was relentless this evening. I don't think he was brilliant. I thought he was relentless, though. Even when, your head could have gone down as a winger, he pushed on. Jota, I think Jota showed broadly why he's in the team. A lot of people questioning what his actual role is. He's always casting a shadow along that back line. He's always in awkward positions. There are times where it would be easy to say, oh, this guy's shying away from wanting a pass, or this guy doesn't want to be involved in this build-up. But I think he makes a lot of very self-sacrificing runs, puts himself in really awkward positions because he's reading where the game could end up going, because he's reading the dominance that Liverpool want to have, and he's allowing other players to make those runs around him, get into those positions. So it's easy to say that maybe Jota had a passive game, but ultimately the active thing that he did do was score that fantastic goal, and it was a very Jota goal. It was a goal that was reminiscent of the older version of him, and as much as we've heard those recent interviews where he sort of says, I'm not 100%, I'm not performing at my very best, you know, I'm not this, I'm not that, I'm not particularly happy with how I'm performing, and possibly because we might see him leave this summer, I think we need to laud him in the moment. Great goal from Jota, made the difference on the night, and frankly, if it was Salah, if it was Diaz, we'd be raving about it. It's just because it's Jota, and because he feels like a bit more of a bit part player, or he hasn't had that same significant role over sustained seasons in a starting 11, that maybe I think he gets a bit overlooked. Which, to an extent, fair enough. But when he steps up, Jota really steps up, and it made a big difference to us tonight. In fact, it was the only big difference on the score sheet this evening. We didn't, outside of that, I thought in the first half, we didn't create nearly enough dangerous chances for all the passing that we had and all the control that we had. Everton were going down the other end and putting up much better chances, putting forward a much better foot in Beto, trying to turn in and out. Really impressive Premier League striker in that. You know, again, that's two games this season where I think Van Dijk and Konate have sort of struggled with his movement. And I think that's probably where I've flagged the other way. I will talk about the midfield, and I'll talk about the left back. I'll talk about, you know, the overall system in a minute. But I think teams will have spotted things they can try to exploit over these next 5 wins that Liverpool need, or, you know, however many points we need to accrue. And, you know, that is another one ticked off, essentially getting a little bit closer to the title. Broadly, they did show a couple of vulnerabilities this evening. Curtis Jones's passing and attacking play was great. There were times where obviously, you know, you could see they were attacking space, where if that was Trent or someone else, I think would probably be quite critical. But for now, he's my right back. Conor Bradley's not fit. Trent certainly won't be fit for quite a while. I think Curtis plays a great role. He can drift into the midfield. He is adaptable. There was someone who pointed out that one of his, if not his debut under Klopp, was a right-back game against Manchester United in the pre-season. He's a guy who's got that in his locker. He's a guy who can read a game. He's a guy who, broadly, actually, if you don't give him too much responsibility, is really good at doing these basic things that you would probably want a right-back to do and stepping up. And I think that's what's important to me with Curtis. He stepped up tonight. He knew there was some self-sacrifice in this role, but to get towards the title, you will look back and think, thank God I did X, thank God I did that, right? Worth it. It's worth it if you end up lifting a Premier League title at the end of it, and if you can lord it over other people within the league. Fair enough, right? I was, excuse me, again, another game where Salah and the system kind of won out, maybe because he didn't have the support from right back and it made it a little bit more difficult for him to get forward. He had some support and he, you know, Curtis Jones clearly tried to make himself available, but I don't think it's quite the marauding nature of what we saw from Trent or the crosses that Trent used to whip in, which created so much space for Salah because you're drawing players out. Tactically, Liverpool still need to work this out. And I think we probably won't work it out, frankly, until next season. There's going to be too many games, too little time for us to actually do this. And if a solution does come, it will be through players working it out on the field or working it out through chemistry and the mutuality of the way that they play. Fair enough, right? Then I want to talk about the midfield. Broadly tonight, I think Everton were told, put in some hard tackles, make it difficult for Liverpool, try and put the first ball up there, win that second ball, and they didn't really do that in the second half. They were doing it a little bit in the first, and there were times where Liverpool were caught out of position or maybe over-egged, being, you know, dominant in the way they were doing it. And that's sort of fair enough. Like, that's part of the Premier League. I think that's part of the way that managers try to almost move Liverpool around and suck them forward down the field in order to counter-attack on them. Fair enough, right? But I also think that there were times tonight where our midfield didn't quite have the control that we needed and didn't quite have the structure that we needed tonight. And I think, you know, I was looking at the overall average positions in the game. Where is it? I've got to be able to find it somewhere. I need to actually be able to look at this. Lineups, go all the way to the bottom. Average positions. There we go. It was because, now I'm going to hold up to the camera, but I don't know how much difference that's really going to make. Like, can I tap on that? Is that going to... There you go, look. Right, back to me. And like, it's not a terrible midfield, but Szoboszlai looked a lot deeper because he was having to do a lot more work. McAllister, like, there was that rotation that I think Slot was looking for, and like that, when I say literal rotation, I mean like they do kind of rotate and push forward and then go back and push forward and then go back and take up each other's roles. But I don't think it quite made it dominant enough because they were never able to quite get into a rhythm in that midfield. It never quite worked for us. Mainly because I thought Everton also countered that really well, and they plugged the midfield. They brought Beto a lot deeper. Who was the other guy out there? There was Jack Harrison. I think also Carlos Alcaraz was also looking pretty good. And then immediately behind that, obviously, had the James Garner, and then Idrissa Gueye was actually. He was sort of putting himself about and casting some good shadows, and Liverpool were having to go wide a lot quicker, almost a bit more direct than we would probably want to be tonight. And then the time where we were trying to cut Everton out, we just went back to that controlling system. And to an extent, I don't think we want to match Arsenal. We don't need to match Arsenal, in the sense of a performance. We just need the wins. We need to get these wins under our belt and do it in a more of a slot way, in a way that's going to reassure the team rather than probably, marauding to a title. I think it's just get these results over the line. Get us in a position where we've won the title and we can relax, possibly say goodbye to a couple of people, possibly talk about some of the deficiencies or weaknesses within the side. Be appreciative of someone like Andy Robertson, who had a great game tonight. Again, showed that savvy, showed that mindset, showed the importance of having an experienced player in the side who can get in there and be a leader, who can get in there and do the important things when it's late on in the game, grabbing that ball, going out wide, frustrating Everton. And also you could see they were force-feeding at times the other side on Curtis Jones later on in the midfield in order to bring him forward. He was able to make the tackle. I think the frustrating element that he felt was obviously from Doucouré, when Doucouré ran over to the Liverpool fans after the Everton game and he reacted to that. And then everyone, the overall occasion in the event sort of took over and the referee kind of went around and just handed out all these weird cards. Fine. If we win against Everton like that and, we're in this position now, great. I think tonight they were trying to get him a bit of revenge. And I think that is setting up a long-term kind of hero arc for Curtis Jones in these games. It's giving him that investment that Gerrard had down the years, that other Scousers have had down the years. Not that he hasn't already had it and he hasn't really shown it, but he's got that personal edge to it. And I think those kind of things are really important, especially to cultivate under new managers, new eras that we're going into, show that there is passion out there, show that there is engagement and that it's not just the Klopp era where everyone engaged and then the other way around, it's just not looking particularly good. I think the important element here is to have some of this emotional investment, especially when we're questioning other people's emotional investment, whether that's rightly or wrongly, and how close we feel this team is really important. That's important for Anfield, that's important for the games coming up. Broadly, I would say this is a great performance. We don't need to match Arsenal in the amount of goals we score, any of those things. All we need to do is match the results or have a positive result that moves us 1 point, 3 points closer to a title. That's the key here, right? Keep that gap, move closer, step, 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 step. Take it bit by bit. And like Virgil van Dijk himself said, under the lights against Everton at Anfield is a great way to start. We went out there, we completely sort of poured cold water on the event. We showed that we were dominant. I like Van Dijk's little push on Tarkowski after he wasn't sent off, though again, I don't condone violent behaviour. And I like the way that Liverpool approached this game. It felt like, again, it went back to we're not going to fight you, we're going to control this. We're not above it, but we are engaged with this game and we know what it is that we need to achieve and put into it in order to get the result that we want out of it. And we've kind of been sucked a bit more into games more recently. PSG certainly got that. We felt like we needed to do that, and maybe we didn't. I felt like Slot was disappointed with how over-emotionally invested we were in some of that, or how much we shrunk in Paris. And then the same with the lack of effort, maybe the amount of disappointment in the Champions League that we showed against Newcastle and the lack of fight because of that. Cool. Good to know. Good to see that, we can identify that. Almost similar to the Nottingham Forest result first in the season when we had the poor result. And he was disappointed with having a 2024 where he hadn't got a full winning record, and Liverpool were just disappointed in losing one under him. Those kind of things are really important. Again, we're showing markers, boundaries, lines in the sand that we can just go out there and keep reinforcing. It's really important. I'd love to know what you guys think tonight. Obviously, Huerta Endo came on, the human victory cigar. But I think moving forward, what we're going to have to do is rotate within this side. It's very clear to me that, without Alisson in there, without a couple of the other leaders like Trent, and possibly with people coming back from international duty, we're going to have to rotate going into the next game. Looking at Liverpool's next couple of games, we go into the next couple of games. We go in with Fulham away. That's a really tricky game. I went to Fulham last season. I think it was last season. Yeah. I think I saw Trent score that free kick. It's a really hard place to go to. And as much as obviously they got beaten quite conclusively by Arsenal, At home, obviously, we still want to put down a bit of a marker there. Same with West Ham, same with Leicester, same with Tottenham, same with Chelsea. Guess what? That's 5 games to the Arsenal game. And Arsenal need to be flawless in that time if it is 5 wins that we would need, but it's 5 games to the Arsenal game. How hard, how fast do you think this Liverpool team can get to the title? And is that even what you're really thinking about? It's not what I'm really thinking about, to be completely honest. What I'm thinking about is win a title this season, put a line under it, move on, rebuild, enjoy the Slot era, enjoy what he brings as a manager. I think that's really important. Sorry, it's still a bad cough, but silly. Appreciate you guys watching the video. Appreciate you guys engaging with it. Appreciate you guys kind of sticking around while I've been sick, while I've been working my way back up to full fitness, should we say. It's frustrating when it's like this. It's frustrating when you're kind of trying to make a video and you're feeling a bit under the weather, those kind of things. But thanks for sticking around. Thanks for being loyal subscribers. There is a Discord down there. There is a Patreon. Hit it, get in there and enjoy yourselves. Go chat about the win. Go chat about, you know, moving forward, titles, ideas, what the team can do next, who leaves, who stays, all those kind of things. Appreciate it, guys. I'll chat to you in a while. Much love. Bye.